Welcome to this Twitter space around Cake DeFi. Last week we did our first one, I think it was the second one last time. We're gonna do this on a weekly basis, always same time, Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Singapore time. It's an easier time for us here in Singapore. Last week it was like so late that it was quite difficult to get team members motivated to join the Twitter space in the Asia time zone. And we are recording that, and then we're gonna put it out as a podcast as well. I think we're also gonna try to put it out as a YouTube video. But that should be a kind of good overview, so that you can join live here. Otherwise, you can listen in. This will be mainly focused on Cake DeFi, a couple of topics, and I posted that on Twitter as well. Yeah, the things that I will cover today. Obviously, we'll have team members join as always. And we're gonna discuss a couple of points with them, their point of view at the moment. Additionally, I will cover current crypto markets, a bit of a Q4 preview. So far, it's been pretty spot on what we've been expecting 2021, how September went, how October is behaving. Let's see how the rest of the quarter goes. I'll give you a bit of my opinion. Obviously, no one knows what the future brings, but we can all be looking into a crystal ball. I'll cover the USDC subpoena that came out, my opinions on that. I've had a couple of conversations with other people on what they know. Obviously, want to lose a few ideas on the Facebook down discussion. Yes, like that happened yesterday mainly. Facebook was down for like 6 hours. And then look a bit into general markets, Evergrande. What's going on there? We see that they're selling off some of the assets. Yeah, I just want to cover that a bit. Obviously, depending on where we are standing with time, we're gonna keep this under an hour. So, cover a bit on my expectations on inflation coming up. That's like a hot topic in the crypto space, and obviously crypto in general, because it's so bearish on fiat, is always a bit on the like hyperinflation side. And I just want to caution a bit on maybe that we're not going to see that much inflation. Oil is telling a bit of a different picture right now with like I think a 7-year high. But yeah, just as a whole, maybe discuss a bit on DeFi NFTs coming up in Q4. What do we expect there? If we have time, it is a big question I get a lot on when are we listing XRP. It was a coin that we actually had planned on to list until this entire Ripple lawsuit came up. So just want to share a few ideas there. And then again, if you have any questions, just tweet at me. I'm having on my computer, I'm having Twitter open. So if you just tweet at me with a question, I'll try to integrate that. And maybe you also have a question for the team. We have Fabio in here, we have Ian here, we have Arba here, we have Sylvia here. So we have all kinds of ideas and topics, and we're gonna kind of look a bit on what's happening, what do we see with various voices, and I think that's nice. So yeah, let's get started. A bit of a preview on the prices, crypto market as a whole. I mean, at the moment, let me just open a couple of things here. And again, this is purely crypto markets as a whole. I'm not gonna like pick out an individual coin. But I think Facebook is a really good metric here. Bitcoin is a really good metric here to see where we are kind of standing. So Bitcoin has been kind of climbing back up to the 50,000 a week ago when we did that last Twitter space. Yeah, it was rather on the lower end, so we were in the lower 40s. So we've been going up as expected. I always kind of predicted that September is generally a bearish month, and we exactly saw that. A bit of a reminder here, right? Most of the time when you tell people that it's going to be a bearish month, many people are always like, yeah, sure, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, September is a bearish month. It's historically one of the worst crypto months. Of course, that makes a lot of sense. And then when the month actually happens and you have this bearishness, people totally freak out. And I see this even in my own team, right? I mean, we are like, I mean, the team's growing literally every week. Yeah, that's a bit of shout out. If you want to join a really amazing team, you should definitely apply. I think we have roles in literally every kind of department right now. Yeah, even in your own team, I see this where people then start freaking out. Oh, Bitcoin is now going like to the 40s. Are we going to break into the 30s? Are we going to see a new low? Is it going to be more of a 2018 scenario? We're going to be very bearish. Um, Remember, prices don't just move for no reason. There's always an underlying reason, and especially if there is a significant move, right? And we saw this in September. We saw several dumps in Bitcoin. Obviously, we saw the El Salvador day that really kind of had an impact. Obviously, we had a bit of the China FUD that always kind of hurt the entire kind of system. So remember that, right? So there is always a bit of a price movement, and there's a reason for that. And so then we saw the Evergrande. Now we could sit here and say, well, would September have been such a negative month had there not been El Salvador Day, had there not been the Evergrande story? Would September have been more positive? Well, we could phrase this, or we could frame this in anything else. Let's frame this in a completely different context, so maybe that you understand the emotion. And again, a lot of investing, especially in the short term, right, is emotional. So, like, if you phrase this in a relationship kind of sense, if you're in a total fresh relationship, 1 month old, and your partner, I don't know, doesn't bring out the trash. Your partner, I don't know, doesn't say the right thing at the right time. Your partner doesn't support you like the way you wanted him or her to support you in this very moment. Would it matter? Like, would it matter in the first months? Probably not, right? The relationship is fresh. Everything is still like bubbly eyes. Everything is great. It doesn't matter that much. Now, what about 10 years down the line? 10 years down the line, like the partner leaves out the trash. It doesn't take out the trash, doesn't clean up after eating, comes home and the clothes are just in the middle of the room. Can that lead to an argument, even though it's exactly the same stimulus as in the first months of a relationship? And I mean, we all kind of know that in this case, there's a way higher chance, and I'm not saying it's a guarantee for an argument, but there's a way higher chance that in this moment, there's a higher chance for an argument, right? And so if we would graph this in like the relationship is doing well and the relationship is not doing so well, obviously in the first month, even it would be the same kind of stimulus, it would have a completely different effect than 10 years down the line. And so, yes, look, kind of copying that example into the investment kind of world. Sure, we could say, had El Salvador Day not happened, had Evergrande not happened, then September wouldn't have been that pessimistic. So Julian and everyone else who was like so bearish on September, you're just lucky that like these two events happened, because without those two events, September wouldn't have been that bearish. And you're right. However, my counter argument on that is there are certain cycles in the market, there are certain mindset cycles, there are certain emotional cycles that make behavior, and especially human behavior and herd behavior, way more susceptible to certain events. And you see this. You see this when, at the moment, especially let's say in September, a coin could have had very positive like news or very positive like kind of outcome, but it wouldn't have had any, and like it wouldn't have had a single like positive price impact. Simply because the entire market sentiment and everything, the entire behavior was triggered in a certain direction. And so, and that is really, really important to understand when it comes to a lot of the price movement and a lot of historical movement, a lot of kind of repetition. So the reason why certain months tend to be bullish and certain months tend to be bearish, obviously it has to do with certain trigger events during those months. Sure. And if a trigger event doesn't happen at all, then sure, I mean, had Evergrande and the El Salvador Day not happened, maybe September wouldn't have been that bearish. But maybe other events would have just gotten totally magnified and would have gotten and would have made September way more bearish. So just understand that in especially like investor behavioral kind of psychology. A lot of investing is not so much about the mechanics, right? It's a lot about the psychology, and it's a lot about the emotions that drive people. So that about September, right? And so now when we look at October, my expectation is that we're going to see a bullish Q4. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin went to the 100,000. So like doubling from around today's prices, maybe even more, right? And so obviously looking just at the like at the emotional like parameters right now, we are like rather in the bullish sentiment again. Just last week there was extreme fear, and right now you're just measuring the kind of sentiment that people have. People are way more bullish. So if you're listening to this rather recent and the price is still at around 50 or maybe even higher, you're going to be like, yes, sure. I mean, it's no problem that Bitcoin's going to hit 100,000 this year. Now, here's the key part, right? And I just want to prepare you a bit on both ends. First of all, prices don't go up in a straight line. You will always see some sell-offs, and you're probably going to nod your head right now listening to this, and you're like, yeah, sure. Prices never move up in a straight line. But as soon as the price goes up to, like, let's say, close to the all-time high to 65, I mean, it is expected that at those prices, a lot of people are going to be super careful, and they're probably going to sell off a bit of their crypto, right? That's expected. So it wouldn't be unexpected that the prices would dip again. And guess what's going to happen during this time? A lot of sentiment, a lot of people will be like, oh my goodness, that's it. 2018 all over again. We're hitting the old all-time high. Now, this was like a dead cat bounce that just bounced all the way up to where we actually started. And now prices are dipping down again. And so just kind of, I don't know, sit down maybe and take it and write a note and or tip something down and just say, you know what? It is expected that when prices go up for a certain period of time, relatively stable, it is expected that there will be small sell-offs, right? And these small sell-offs in the run-ups, they can be 20, 25%. It can happen, right? So if we go to, let's say, 65,000, it can happen that we're dipping back down to the lower 50s. And that doesn't mean that now everything like crashes and the media will tell you so and the crypto bears will tell you so, but it is absolutely expected. Now, the thing is, in this moment, the price doesn't just dip for no reason. There is a reason. Just like in a relationship, if you're telling me, man, we had this big fight yesterday, it's way more likely if you have this big fight that you have been dating for the last 10 years rather than the last 10 days. Because if your relationship is only 10 days old and you're fighting, you're probably out of the relationship already. But so after 10 years, like you're telling me you had a big fight. I know that there was a trigger like yesterday. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had this fight. But also understand the same trigger within the first 10 days would have probably not caused a fight. It would have either caused the relationship to break up or you would have just sucked it up, right? Let's be real about this. So if the price dips, it always looks like a dramatic event in this very moment. But at the end, in the grand scheme of things, it is expected. So just keep that in mind. Also keep the other side in mind. Now, let's say we're going to go through this, and it's difficult to pinpoint this down. And I think a lot of the expectation right now kind of centers around the Bitcoin ETF or more of a futures ETF that is expected. And again, I think at that point, it's almost expected. People are talking about a 75, 80% probability for the Bitcoin ETF to be approved. So just keep that in mind. That's a high probability and a high percentage in Q4. So a lot of the expectation is there that it is happening, right? So just the probability going down. So I'm not even talking about the probability going to like only 10% now, just the probability going down from 80%. And people really struggle with the differences between 80%, 90%, 95%, 60%. These are super fine like narratives, but like in any kind of term, right? If you talk about poker, you talk about chess, you talk about anything that's very scientific, right? You talk about medical procedures. A lot of these things, every single percentage point matters. The majority of people, they struggle with 80%. They struggle with their understanding on, is 80% a lot? Is 80% a little? They don't know. They just think, oh, that's for sure. I mean, that's more than 50%. Oh, that's more than 75. Oh, that's going to happen for sure. So in a lot of people's minds right now, the ETF is going to happen in Q4. Now, it's very likely going to happen. 80% is likely, but it's not 100%. So even if that probability drops down to, let's say, 55%, 56%, 57%, in people's minds, this is going to go from it's happening for sure to, oh, it's never going to happen. So you may see a lot of the emotional change left and right here. And I just want to highlight that because that is the big hopium here, right? That is the big expectation for the crypto prices to go up. So keep that in mind. when it comes to the single biggest driver at this moment. Nothing else drives the expectation and the hopium of people in this very moment like the Bitcoin ETF. So if Gensler comes out and says, from the SEC, and comes out and says, yes, it's way more likely, like he did on October 1st, totally unexpectedly, and says, yes, it's gonna, Bitcoin ETF is coming out, it will drive the price, it will be very bullish, right? If he comes out and starts delaying decisions and he's gonna postponing decisions, that may have a bearish kind of outlook on the price. Now, why do I want to mention this? Because obviously it can go either way, but also remember this: Bitcoin maybe has a good chance in October, and I really think it has a good chance to get close to the $65,000 range, to an old all-time high, right? I would be surprised if we're actually breaking the all-time high this month, but I mean, it depends a bit on the Bitcoin ETF. If there is actually a futures ETF, and the reason why the futures ETF is more likely simply because it takes the prices from CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, it has a more like has a higher chance actually to actually be seen as a credible source of price action. But so imagine this, right? Now the price goes up, now it goes to 70, it goes to 80. Remember this: what was your original kind of idea on what the price could do? And not only Bitcoin, but I'm talking about all the coins. What may happen is that suddenly you're going to start FOMOing from the super solid projects into the really kind of questionable projects, because suddenly anything starts pumping and you're like, crap, I'm going to miss the train. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because you may actually get swept in the total other side here, where you went from max fear and max, like, this is going to go all to zero in September, or maybe in June, May, all the way to like November, end of October, to, oh my goodness, like Bitcoin is actually going to go to 288,000 that stock to flow is predicting. And as always, the truth most of the time lies in the middle, right? And so keep that in mind. And like, I just want to point that out. One of the behavioral things we see on Cake DeFi is that people on our platform obviously are not as much traders. They're more long-term hodlers. We see this in the behavior. When I look at like general kind of fund flow, general user flow, funds don't flow like exchanges. When exchanges describe that they are seeing money moving off their platforms, when that actually many times we see funds coming onto our platform. Of course, why? Because we have hodlers. We don't have that much traders. And if I have one thing that I can really give you as a piece of advice in crypto in general, but most of also in investing, it's not so much about timing the market, it's about time in the market. And I think that's key. That's key to understand. And also, if I can give you a piece of advice, if you sell something simply because you believe you can buy it back cheaper later on, this is a recipe for actually losing money. I've not met anyone in my life. I've met insanely successful investors. I've met billionaires who made money by simply buying and holding something for a long term. I've personally never met someone that could credibly show me that he or she manages to sell high and buy low. I've just never seen that. And whoever I talk to that I would consider a successful investor, they wouldn't dare to say that they can successfully do so. And I would not believe that you can. So don't sell something with the idea that you can buy it back cheaper. So if in this run up, and again, I believe actually we're going to see a run up until Christmas. If in this run up, you're planning on selling some of your crypto, my advice is do so because in this very moment, you already have a better investment in mind. And if you think in this very moment that fiat is the better investment and you have to treat fiat as an investment, so don't see it as selling Bitcoin into fiat. See it as buying fiat. So if you believe buying fiat is a better investment for the years to come, don't think in it as in weeks or months. It's very, very tricky to do so. See it in long term. So if you think that, I don't know, 2022 until 2025, just to give you a couple of years here, 4 years. So 2022, 3, 4, 5, until the end of 2025, 4 years. If that is the better investment, then I would buy fiat. If you think that, and here's maybe something else, right? It's always good to have a bit of insurance money aside, just a little bit of just liquidity if stuff goes south. So just keep that in mind. I think that's also obviously a good piece of advice. But if you have that, then I totally understand why you're doing it. But if you, for example, think that you can time the market and you're selling Bitcoin because you think you can buy it back cheaper, wow, you are like one of the few people that I ever meet who could actually do that. And I've met some really great investors in my life. So most of the people are not that skilled. Most of the time, they think they are skilled who are actually doing this, and then they just get lucky. And nothing is worse than confusing skill and luck. So to sum this up, Q4, I expect a lot of sentiment being driven for the Bitcoin ETF. I think it's even small probability shifts here are going to have a big impact on people's sentiment. It's going to be quite irrational simply because people struggle with probabilities in general. And if you are planning on selling crypto in the next run-up, and I hear the sentiment a lot, then just keep in mind, timing the market is better than timing the market, and it's relatively difficult to sell something to buy it back cheaper. It's relatively easy to sell something because in this very moment you have a better investment on hand. And so obviously we did start Cake DeFi in order to really kind of go by this credo. And I'm definitely not a trader. I'm someone who invests in the long term. I've been famous for holding my investments long term, and especially in crypto, I hardly ever like trade or sell something. For me, yeah, and people confuse my 2017 sell. I sold not the top, but I sold relatively high in 2017. But that was not because I believed I could buy back cheaper. This was because in this very moment, I knew that I had other investments at hand that to me were just super attractive. And like comparing those investments to today, it was not a good choice to actually buying those investments. But it gave me, because Bitcoin outperformed those investments. But even if I had just hodled, but it gave me the kind of assurance and the kind of peace that whatever the Bitcoin price does, myself and my future family would always be kind of taken care of. And I think that was in this moment more important than just looking at the financial side of things. Yeah, so these are this is kind of a bit of the preview here, maybe to loop in a topic that I kind of laid out anyways, which is the entire NFT hype that we have seen a bit die off in Q3. And the entire DeFi kind of slowness that we've seen pretty much the entire year. Last year, Christmas till January, February, DeFi had a super big hype. Now it's been really getting slower and slower. Maybe now with the China kind of lockdown, the China kind of crackdown, we have seen some DeFi platforms jumping a bit, DYDX, for example, but it's kind of a bit back and forth here. So Q4, let me kind of make a couple of ideas here. I think the DeFi hype is about 6 to 9 months ahead of the NFT hype. And what I mean with this is the following. I actually think NFT is going to see the exact same kind of cycle that the DeFi hype had. And what DeFi needs, and NFTs is going to go exactly that route, is it actually needs real applications. At the moment, most things in DeFi, all they're doing is they're just, okay, you have centralized lending. Okay, here's decentralized lending. You have a centralized exchange. Oh, here's a decentralized exchange. And just like in anything, a centralized version is more efficient, it's faster, it's cheaper, it's everything except for you have to trust that one entity. So the main thing is always trust. And so as soon as you either need to bypass the law or you need to bypass the trust, you need to bypass regulation. In this very moment, you go into decentralized version. We haven't seen any other advantages, especially the openness in the system, especially the interoperability. We haven't seen that as much yet. And I think once DeFi starts going there, and it's going on all kinds of platforms, right? The entire Ethereum ecosystem, you have to admit that it's by far the furthest ahead in that, right? It is going that route. It's still missing that super solid use case that doesn't exist in a centralized world, but it's going that route. I think the entire Binance Smart Chain ecosystem is going that route. The Polkadot ecosystem is going that route. The Cosmos ecosystem is going that route. The DeFi chain ecosystem is exactly going that route. And I think, and we're going to have a Twitter space later today. u-zyn is doing that from a tech side. We're gonna do one tomorrow, which is similar time, which is actually going to talk mainly about price and price action and how can the price be affected over the next 3 months during that entire run up. So we're going to discuss this there. But I think all these ecosystems are going to move there, and it's going to go away from hype, and it's actually going to go into the actual use cases. So I think that is, and I think in Q4 we're going to see more of that, right? And I think that is super important. We're going to see decentralized stocks, decentralized loans, and we're going to see the interoperability of all that. I think that is going to be a key one. Now, is this going to be like everything solved already in Q4? No, definitely not. But it's going to be the first step, and it's gonna build the foundation. And I think that's going to come over all the projects. So I think the DeFi projects, some projects will hype massively, but I think as a whole, the DeFi ecosystem is just growing solidly. It's gonna step by step expand. You look at the NFT space, I think that's like probably 9 months behind. So you can kind of backtrack. I think what's going to happen in the NFT space, especially in Q4, you will still have some projects that completely FOMO, that completely are irrational, and people just jump in. But you're gonna see a lot of more consolidation. People realize not everything is gold that shines. They will realize, okay, that's crap. Not necessarily a scam, but that's crap. Something is being sold of way higher price than its actual value, and over time, it's gonna come back to earth. So I think we're gonna see that in both kind of sectors. And if you're asking me, in 6 months, probably 9 months, the NFT side will be really there where you actually see real use case, where you actually see utility, where it's not so much pure price speculation because someone is selling an invisible rock, but it's really about like proper utility where how from NFTs, and you see this more and more into this direction. So that is kind of a bit of the prediction here that I have. Yeah, so before going to some of the other topics, I want to see a bit of, I think right now, good topic, good point here is Fabio. What else do you see a bit in the community when it comes to the price action, kind of market sentiment? Do you want to share a bit of your ideas here? Because you're obviously having a lot of the interaction with the community. We also have Ian and Arba and Sylvia here, but I'll ask them about different topics there a bit.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. My personal opinion is it's a little bit of an undecided point where we are right now because if you look, I know, Julian, you're not that much into technical analysis or charts. I'm a little bit more. And if you look at from a technical side, Bitcoin is not in an uptrend yet. We would need to take out a high of 53,000 to officially be in an uptrend. This means a higher high and a higher low. And mostly altcoins are lagging behind until Bitcoin sets a higher high and is clearly in an uptrend. So this would be at 53K. And what we see currently in the community is lots of people are a little bit frustrated because altcoins are underperforming. And the market is still a little bit undecided if we're clearly going into an uptrend or and I guess there is lots of PTSD of people that remembered January 2018, that they're a little bit worried about, okay, maybe 64 was the top and maybe we're going in with a lower high and it's going to be 2 years of suffering. So this PTSD still exists in the community, and you can really feel that this narrative is strong at the moment. Yeah, that's a little bit my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think on altcoins in general, right? If there's two, like the Bitcoin season mostly happens when there is an early rise in crypto, and generally Bitcoin moves early, but then most of the time altcoins outperform Bitcoin. And the other time is when there's a bit of a bearish sentiment. So these are the two kind of times. I do think that until Christmas, altcoins will outperform Bitcoin. The point is, I think it depends also on the project. So you need solid projects that will outperform. So there's a question: what is your favorite altcoin for Q4? Look, I think I'm why like there it's not about opinions, right? It's about results. It's about kind of showing skin in the game. I mean, I put my money where my mouth is. For me, I have Bitcoin, I have Ethereum, I have DeFi chain. So for me, the two favorite altcoins for Q4 is DeFi chain and Ethereum. Every other altcoin that I have is absolutely negligible in amounts. So yeah, it's quite straightforward.
I think you talked a little bit about DeFi and you talked a little bit about NFTs. Like these were clearly the maybe you could put meme coins in there too, but this was a little bit the last year. These waves of new innovation coming to the space, in my opinion, and there's lots of other people talking about this as well, like Anthony Pompliano and Eric Voorhees. They really see that, especially DeFi on Bitcoin is a very mispriced opportunity, and lots of people are not spending attention there. And I kind of agree. It's lots of people are overlooking this, and especially right now. And of course, right now NFT is, I guess, the topic. Like my whole feed is full of crazy pictures of apes and punks, and it's still, I guess, still a lot of hype surrounding NFTs, and especially during this hype cycle, people forget about everything else.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. There's another question here from Daniel who asks about full functionalities on Cake from the entire DeFi sector. Will we have liquidity mining for stocks on Cake? Yes, we will. Will we have the DEX as a partner on Cake? Yes, we will. Will you be able to actually create decentralized tokens on Cake? With the exception of dollars, no. And the reason for that is maybe to kind of quickly, and I think u-zyn is going to discuss this way more tonight. We can talk about this on the DeFi chain space tomorrow. But I mean, I just want to quickly explain that, right? So on the one hand, on a decentralized token, someone creates that decentralized token, and that person creating that token is actually shorting the stock. That person is long crypto, short the stock. And so I think for Cake users, it's a bit complicated, and they will struggle with that concept. So we will not allow people to actually create tokens, with the exceptions of dollars, because in this moment, when you're actually creating dollars out of crypto, you're taking a loan. And so what this will allow people on Cake is actually not having to sell their crypto. They can stay long Bitcoin, they can stay long DeFi chain, but they can actually take dollars. And so they can actually stay long and take out a loan. And I think that's actually the future. If you look at this entire discussion, I don't know if you have seen the entire kind of discussion about Elon Musk, ProPublica announced this, in my opinion, full of like not lies, but misrepresentation of his income and his income statement and the taxes he pays, and how it's immoral to kind of take loans on your stocks because that way you can defer your income taxes. If you haven't seen that, just look it up on YouTube. He just had a super long interview with Kara Swisher on that. And the idea, basically, what most super wealthy individuals do, it's not only wealthy, it's just smart individuals who actually have a lot of assets. They don't sell those assets, especially if they see this long term. Now, remember what I said. I think one of the smartest things at Cake is that we attract hodlers, and most of the time, hodlers completely outperform traders. So if you're hodling crypto long term, you don't try to time every wave. You basically understand it over time, and to use in this case a sad analogy, but you understand that the oceans is rising, right? So you understand that. So you're betting on the ocean rising. In this case, it's actually a constructive one, and we're not talking about an environmental one. This one we're using a constructive example. You understand that crypto in the long term, the price discovery is going to get better and better and better. Governments can't stop printing money. So the prices of crypto over time, we're talking about years here, not weeks and months, over years is going to go up. So why would you sell something that you believe over the next years is going to go up? And again, I'm assuming you're not trying to trade the price, because let's face it, most people can't, and I've never met someone who can. So hodling, getting cash flow in it makes so much more sense. But the point is, the world still revolves around fiat. So what do you do? And so what like a lot of business owners with assets do, they have a stock, and Elon and I mean literally anyone that has a lot of assets is doing that. Instead of selling the stock, which would trigger income taxes on top of it, and you would get out of the asset, you take a loan against that. So you always need someone to actually give you a loan. But let's say you have $1 billion in Tesla. I'm sure most banks would give you $50 million or $100 million for it because like the collateral is big enough. And you would take a loan. You actually have to pay interest on that. So you actually trigger a negative taxation cycle in theory because you have to pay back the interest. Depending on the jurisdiction. I'm not a tax account advisor here, so just keep that in mind, right? Taxation is different all around the world. So, but you actually have to pay back interest. You hope that the price gain of the asset, so the Tesla share in this case, actually is bigger than the interest rate you have to pay back, but you have the $50 million. So that way you can actually get a loan without having to sell the underlying. So in this case, in Cake's example, you are going to be able to buy stocks, going to be able to buy crypto. The DEX is going to be as a third-party integration. You're going to be able to liquidity mine. And that's also important. I think many people don't understand that there will be insane rewards for liquidity mining stocks. This is completely, in my opinion, not priced in the entire system. People just don't understand that. I like just look back a year ago where people didn't understand liquidity mining as a whole. And then at the beginning, there were like tens of thousands of % in liquidity mining because people didn't get that. And now you can liquidity mine with stocks. So that's actually the offset balance for those people that take out the stock in the first place. That's the kind of counterbalance. And then for you, that also means that you can lock in Bitcoin, you can put in DFI, and you can get a loan against that. And so that's the only dollar token that we are actually allowed to create on Cake. Any other tokens have to be created natively on the blockchain. We don't want to do that at Cake. At the beginning, maybe later on we're going to offer that, but not at the beginning because we believe that's a bit complicated to understand for people. But I think that's going to be a really cool feature. So by the end of Q4, by Christmas, you are able to buy stocks, sell stocks, liquidity mine stocks, probably with thousands of %. So that's going to be very interesting. And then you are going to be able to get a loan in dollars against your assets. So you don't have to sell if you don't want to. So that's going to be really cool. Ian, I think it's good to bring you up here. So I want to ask you if you have any kind of input there, especially from the user experience, especially from the design side, anything that you kind of with the team looked out for, especially with those kind of things.
Yeah. Hey guys. Good day. I can see Chimdi and Kavi tuning in also. Hello to you guys and the rest of the community. Yeah. So yeah, I've been listening to like the very good, like awesome analysis by Julian. Well, my sentiment to like September, even though it's been bearish, is that like I try not to like pay attention to it. Like in any case, like I feel that like Bitcoin, DeFi, the price is gonna be like way higher, like in a matter of years. So everything in between, from like then to like to now, to me is all distraction. So when it's bullish, I tend to get distracted because it's I look at the price every day and feel happy about it, you know. But when it's bearish, yeah, it depresses me, and then I you know, it affects my productivity at work. So
I think Ian just got muted. I think Fabio, maybe you
sorry, my bad.
kind of pressed the button.
Ian, can you unmute yourself?
when did you guys lose me?
Like 6 minutes ago, we didn't hear anything you said.
6 minutes?
Just kidding. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just after you said when the price goes up, you're super happy, but if the price goes down, then you're also happy, I think.
No, the price when the price goes down, I'm not happy, of course. Like so yeah, so I get like depressed. It usually makes me a little bit depressed when the price goes down, especially like when I get messages from people, asking me, hey, why is this coin going down? Why is Bitcoin going down? Can you tell me why? I get like messages from people, and then so my approach to like when in September is just to not pay attention to the market, like, because I know in the long run it's gonna be like 100K, 280K, like intuitively and personally, I know that's gonna be the case. But the short term movements are very distracting. So I just try not to pay attention to it and use that as an excuse to like just do something else, put my passion into something else. Like, so in September, I was able to get quite a lot of work done because partly because I'm just not distracted by the market.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Arba, do you want to share a few things? I mean, especially on the education side, I think a lot of people, like, especially when it comes to the upcoming products, I mean, the questions around liquidity mining, creating stocks, taking loans, I mean, a lot of this needs education. Yeah, what are you and the team doing there from a content side?
Yeah, so what we actually discussed today and what we will be doing very soon is, especially on the DeFi chain side, also start talking about the stock features and everything that's coming very soon more, so that people are educated there about how the liquidity mining works, how it will actually look like and everything. So that's what we're currently building there, because people they don't really understand it that much yet, and it's the same as last year when the DEX launched and it came to Cake. Then people started really understanding it, and they saw how easy it is, especially on Cake, of course. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing again 1 year afterwards now.
Yeah. There was a question here from Fiery Fox who asked about the price impact on DeFi and so on. I would love to discuss this tomorrow because today I really want to talk more about crypto as a whole, as a company. For us, again, I just really want to make this clear. For us on a Cake side, we really see crypto as a whole. It's not a specific coin or an individual kind of project. We see it as a whole. So tomorrow, I'm super happy to discuss this in greater detail. Today, I just want to discuss more of the crypto as a whole, the platform, user experience suggestions, and so on. So that's going to be a key kind of idea today. Yeah, cool. Maybe let's discuss something else, and then yeah, I want to ask how Sylvia is doing in jail, and see what she has to say there.
Hi.
But
Thank you for introducing me this way.
they offering internet to you in jail?
Yes, they do. My Wi-Fi is not that great, but I think it's gonna work out now. So hi everyone. Yes, I'm in prison right now, and it's amazing. Fantastic. So
okay, tell everyone what you're actually doing, because otherwise
yeah.
people are gonna get the wrong idea, and there's gonna be a news
Yeah,
report
right.
that's a Cake employee is in
So
jail.
what I'm actually doing, I'm not really in prison. I'm serving quarantine here in a hotel room in Singapore. And the reason why is because I went back to Italy, to my home country, for 3 weeks. So now I get to pay back with 2 weeks in quarantine in a hotel. And you can imagine how much I was looking forward to this.
I have one question for you. I mean, you got into crypto when you actually started at Cake a year ago.
Yes.
Maybe quickly, I don't know how much people actually know what you do. So maybe quickly share with people what you do, and then
Yes.
you started at Cake last summer. So
Yes.
what was your experience with the entire crypto sentiment so far, and how are you experiencing it?
So as you said, I was very new back then when I started in August last year. I wasn't in crypto before, and for me, it was actually, as a new crypto user, it was very easy for me to start working for Cake and using its services, because they're very, very simple and easy to understand. So now I do use all the services, and I know way more about that. I understand the sentiments, and I reacted well to the Bitcoin price going down, because then working for Cake, you get to learn a lot about it, and I knew that it's very important for a long-term investor not to look at the price every single day. Otherwise, as Ain said, you just get depressed. So yeah. But regarding what I do at Cake, I started out as an executive assistant, and then with time I started taking on projects from the team. So yeah, you could say that I don't have an average working day. My days are very, very different from each other, as my role is so varied. So one day I organize events, I interact with partners, I interact with the economic development board, and then the next day I'm helping out in different departments such as HR, business development, reaching out to influencers. So yeah, this varied role.
Do you want to? I want to use this again. I think I want to make this clear to all the listeners. We never discuss upfront what we're going to discuss. Actually, it's a pure conversation. So, do you want to share with potential future employees what is the work culture at Cake like? And then also what is the policies around being remote, working from the office?
Yes.
Share that a bit. I think it's interesting for people also who and again, I want to highlight we are aggressively hiring. We have enough runway, we have enough funds. So if you want to work for a really, really awesome company, please apply. But share a bit there.
Sure. So I can tell you that the first thing that struck me when I first started working for Cake was
what did you do before?
Before working for Cake, I was working for the Italian Chamber of Commerce here in Singapore. And before that, I was working in Germany in operations. So I did have other experiences before. But the thing that really struck me is how much independence each and every one of us actually gets to have. Like nobody is ever watching over your shoulders. And the good thing is everyone trusts in each other and in the fact that we're all doing our best. And I found that amazing. And there's like no politics, no formalities, and that really everyone is so passionate about their job. And that's the thing that really struck me at first. And it's still like that.
We always try to keep that. And I think we always try to keep that. We have our team principles. We make sure the team kind of interacts with that way. Ownership is really important. No micromanaging. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it really stays that way. We do have our principles and really everyone follows them. That's incredible because everyone is so motivated, right? And on the remote policy, basically our team, we're about 70 people now and 50% of us is based in Singapore, around 50%. The rest is all over the world. So as you can understand, like half of us is completely remote. And the rest of the people, those who are in Singapore, we do have a co-working space, but it was clear from the very beginning that we do not have to use this co-working space. Like none of us has to go to the office. What we discussed about is that it would be nice from time to time to be all together in the office, to do some productive meetings all together, face to face. But it's really always up to us. So this is really about what I was saying before about the fact that no one is ever watching over your shoulders and micromanaging. And it's great. So yeah, if you get the chance, you should totally apply. And of course, you can always drop us a message as employees. And if you have any questions about the culture, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, I think the future, and again, I think we discussed this last time. I can't remember. Because I sometimes I don't know what I share on the call here or what I discuss in other calls or meetings or conferences. I totally believe so. Just like every once in a while you need to discuss about off-topic stuff. So I think 2 years ago, no one would have imagined. So 2 years ago, just for reference, end of 2019, no one would have imagined that work from home would be the standard to go. I think no one would have thought that Zoom could replace so many things. Let me kind of make a crazy prediction. I think in 2 years, actually, it's gonna get shifted back a lot. I think a lot of companies will actually return to work from an office. And I don't only think that. You see this under the cover. Google just purchased one of the largest office buildings in New York. Why would they do it if they don't believe that many people will actually come back? I think a lot of companies are not sharing that yet publicly, but I definitely think in 2 years, so Christmas 2023, a lot of companies will actually have returned. Why? Because most companies have bad managers, have bad leadership. They don't know how to properly work remote. They can only work by micromanaging, and that's going to be a trend, in my opinion. And so I think that's going to be the direction a bit. One thing that at Cake we had prior COVID already, so for us this was the standard, was this mixed kind of work environment. We always said work at Cake primarily is remote. We do appreciate 1 or 2 days in the office. I think these days can be super collaborative, can be super creative, but the other 2 or 3 days, they should be flexible. They should be structured in a way that you are the most productive with whatever work you're doing. Now, for some team members, this means 10 hours of coding, which they don't want to be distracted. They just want to be alone. And someone else says, hey, look, at the moment, we have this super creative, collaborative project where I actually can't be alone at home because like I need this person and this person and this person, and we're just so much more productive being in the office, having a cup of coffee together, discussing, like the entire week is going to be structured that way. And I think, to be honest, that is going to be the ideal work environment. Now, here's the real important caveat. You need the right work culture for that, because such a work environment can be super destructive for, like, everyone can be happy peppy, but maybe it's super destructive when it comes to actually being efficient. And you see this with some companies, right? You see this, and also in the crypto space. There are crypto companies where like everything is really awesome and great and money is like endless. They get nothing done. Why? Because they're all remote and everyone is happy, but there's just nothing gets done. So you need to have really good managers. You need to have really good leadership. You need to have really good kind of core values, team principles that make this right. So yeah, just want to maybe you are being an employee, or if you're an employer, consider this, right? If your entire company is, well, happy peppy and everything's great, but there's no money coming in and you see the productivity going down, remember one thing, it's your customers who pay the salaries. So if the start is your productivity going down, you're not reaching your goals, then you know, hey, it's just going to take a little bit of time until money becomes scarce, the company's failing, other companies are outperforming, and customers are going to move somewhere else, and you're going to probably going to be out of a job soon. So it's not a good point as an employee or as an employer. So even though it might look nice right now, it's just going to be a matter of time. And as an employer, just keep that in mind as well. It's yeah, maybe all your employees are super happy, but you're getting nothing done. Just a matter of time. So yeah, just it's gonna be interesting. I mean, let's point this out. A very interesting piece was Brian Armstrong's Coinbase, the CEO of Coinbase, tweet, where he actually picked up a very old topic, very old, I think about a year old, where they had this entire discussion around politics in the company, especially pre-US election. And he was like, okay, no more discussions around politics in a company. You can do this on your personal stuff, but not in the company. And then it was like this big outroar that people can't express their own ideas and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you know what? Everyone that wants to leave because of that, we're going to pay you a very nice severance package. It was very generous. Goodbye. About 5% of the workforce took that offer. And with that, I mean, there was huge pieces, I think, in the Journal and then in the Times, and like it was humongous, and a lot of crypto obviously talked about it's the end of Coinbase, blah blah blah. And now about a year later, he reflected on that, and he was like, this was one of the best decisions that we took, because it kind of removed this loud minority that just didn't want to go with the kind of the kind of spirit that we had in the company. And I think that's very, very interesting, because he did get a lot of heat for that. And kind of, if you're an employer and you don't feel that, right? If you feel everything is always smooth sailing, always easy sailing. For example, we had this discussion. We have town hall every Friday in the company, and I can't remember, it was last Friday or 2 Fridays ago. I can't remember. But questions are always asked anonymously, and I want team members to ask this question anonymously, for the simple reason, because I don't want anyone to feel like under pressure for asking whatever question they want. They can ask whatever, right? It's not traceable, trackable, it's completely anonymous. And there was this question on if I'm like adamant on people accepting their salary in Bitcoin. And the majority of Cake employees take their salary in Bitcoin. And I said, yeah, if you're living in a jurisdiction where, and we do have people all over the world, so we do have people in jurisdictions where Bitcoin is a bit of a question, and we don't want to put our team members into precarious situations, of course. So there, obviously, we pay in regular dollars. Also in Singapore, we have to, like CPF here is paid in dollars, just regular. I mean, we stick to the rules. But other than that, I'm like, yeah, I want you to take your salary in Bitcoin. And there's a very clear statement to that. And the statement is, that's the culture. That's the DNA that I want people to have in a company. We are a crypto company. We're not a bank. We're not a large tech company. We are a crypto company. And if that's not the spirit that you have, you're probably not the right fit in our team. And after that, I had 1 or 2 team members who came to me and tried to debate and tried to ask. And I said, look, you're a great team member. I don't want to lose you. But again, it's a boat. We have 70 people in a boat. 68 people rowing into one direction. If you're the person rowing into the other direction, you can be the best rower in the world. And I would love to keep you on boat as a rower. But if you're the person rowing into the other direction, you're just not in the same direction. And that's key. And I think culture and team spirit trumps anything else. Yeah, will over skill. Always remember that. So very, very important. And these are tough decisions, right? Because many times you have team members who are excellent team members, but and in a different culture, right? In a large bank or in another in a large other company, they might like fit in really well. If you kind of water out the culture, it's the beginning of the end. So yeah, I think that's key. Chimdi, you just became a speaker. Do you want to share a few words?
Yeah. Hi everybody. I've actually really missed being at work. Still on honeymoon.
Yeah, congratulations on here on the Twitter space on being married. That's nice that during your honeymoon you're actually joining our Twitter space.
Yeah. No, I saw Ian's tweet about the Twitter spaces, so I missed the last one, and I just set a reminder for this one because I really wanted to be part of it, and I'm glad I listened in on this one. So it's been really, nice to hear everyone's ideas and forecasts and all of that. Just getting a feel for everything that's going on right now. So,
do you want to share with people where you're based? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. Although currently I'm in Kigali with my wife. That's in Rwanda. So yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
How is, can I ask, that's just a personal interest. How is Rwanda? Isn't that always the country that kind of tries to be like the Singapore of Africa?
Yeah. Like it's actually really amazing the sharp contrast between Lagos and Rwanda. Certain things they've put in place here, that's just really amazing. First of all, there's no plastic bags. So like when you go shopping at a store, everything comes in paper bags. Nobody uses plastics here. And one of the direct implications is the environment is really, really clean. Really, I think it's the cleanest city in Africa. And everybody's really calm and nice.
How's the personal security there? That's always one thing that I always obviously ask first, because that's for me personally at least where it starts.
Yeah, no, security here is amazing, and one of the ways you actually know is by their architecture. So, for instance, in Lagos, there's virtually every building has a fence. There's some security at night and all of those things. Here, there's none of that. Neighborhoods are mostly open. People move freely. If the police on the roads don't have guns, unlike what you see in Nigeria. Everybody has guns everywhere. So like there's really no violence. I've actually not seen any case of violence or theft or anything like that. It's really amazing.
Man, I really need to check this out. Yeah, I've heard so often now about Rwanda being so amazing.
Yeah, it is really.
I've never been. Okay.
It is.
What is the COVID rules at the moment? Like, did you have any issues going in there? It was like,
Yeah, so we had to quarantine but it was really short. We just waited for our COVID results to come back. So we stayed at the hotel for 2 nights before moving to the Airbnb apartment where we're at currently. So if the result comes back negative, you can go ahead, yeah. But then if it's positive, you have to stay there. Then I think they make transport arrangements for you and all of that. But I mean, we're glad it wasn't positive. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. How much longer is your honeymoon?
We'll be getting back on the 10th, actually.
10th.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. That's my son's first birthday. Cool.
Oh, cool.
What do you do at tell everyone what do you do at Cake? Not everyone probably has seen your YouTube introduction.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. So I'm the visual designer at Cake. Joined last year August. So I handle assets for social media, websites, some video clips, motion assets, and things like that. So that's what I do at Cake.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jimmy. Hey, yeah, happy honeymoon. Yeah, enjoy. Cool.
Thank you very much.
It's great. And share some pictures from Rwanda.
Yeah,
definitely.
nice. Definitely, I'll do that.
Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Uh,
Cool. Thanks everyone. We're getting to the full hour. I actually need to not only call this off because I promised to stay on only for an hour, but actually need to jump into the next call. So with that, I hope we had a little bit of diversity in input, all the way from prices to product to what the team is up to, and weekly basis. I know for those of you that are more used to my German YouTube videos, yeah, not so much on that at the moment. I just don't really have the motivation for those. Just spending time differently a bit at the moment. So I hope that works really well for you at the meantime. Again, we're going to do them on a week. Out a couple of topics, but I think that's we're also discuss a bit of my own thoughts, have team members share some ideas. I hope. And yeah, so follow us on Twitter here. Become a Cake customer. Obviously, if you're not, I hope you become a hodler. Remember, time in the market is more important than timing the market. And again, if you're open to new job possibilities, apply. Go to cakedefi.com/jobs and join this amazing family. With that, I appreciate it. Have a nice evening here in Asia. Have a nice rest of the day in the Europe or American time zone. Stay safe. Take care. All the best. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.